The top stories for the hour. States call for climate financing for climate adaptation to scale up green infrastructure development for African integration. The World Bank expresses commitment to support safety net program to reduce poverty and ensure food security in Ethiopia. Hello and welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. I am Magdalawi Sigum with the daily updates. And now moving on. Ethiopian peacekeepers deployed in South Sudan under the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, have received UN medals for a variety of key contributions in South Sudan. Together with other peacekeepers from the Republic of Korea and India, Ethiopian peacekeepers have demonstrated their contribution to peace in Jonglei in the Greater Pibor Administrative Area, South Sudan, according to UNMISS. Lieutenant General Mohan Subramanian, Force Commander of the United Nations mission in South Sudan, UNMISS, underscored that the Blue Helmet who received medals have proven their worth by demonstrating selflessness, commitment to sacrifices, often under challenging circumstances. The 18th Ethiopian contingent's significant role in keeping convoy of humanitarian aid safe as they bring life-saving supplies to those most in need was duly highlighted by the visiting force commander. To date, they have conducted 124 short and long duration patrols, including some by air, to deter violence against civilians. They have also completed about 1,000 foot patrols and provided force protection for countless missions undertaken by UNMISS and humanitarian partners. The Intra-Africa Coffee Organization IACO High-Level Policy Forum and the 64th Annual General Assembly held in Addis Ababa yesterday under the theme Building Resilience and Competitiveness in Africa Coffee from Farm to Market. In recent remark on the forum, Italian ambassador to Ethiopia, Agostino Palisi, highlighted Italy's commitment to enhancing coffee supply chain in Africa through strategic partnership, particularly in line with the spirit of the Matai Plan. The Italian Agency for Development Cooperation is collaborating with UNIDO to support producing countries, focusing on creating resilient, equitable, and efficient coffee supply chain. Ambassador Palisi stressed the importance of fostering strong public-private alliance, emphasizing that innovation from companies is essential for overcoming challenges in the sector. He announced plans for the Global Private-Public Fund introduced during Italy's G7 presidency, aimed at enhancing the coffee supply chain climate resilience and economic sustainability. French food processing company Del Monte Enterprise is eyeing the establishment of a dry food processing plant in Ethiopia. The company's interest comes at a pivotal moment when Ethiopia has achieved with self-sufficiency and has begun exporting the grain internationally. He noted that the nation have saved 750 million previously spent on wheat imports by increasing domestic production. Sebastian Del Monte, the founder and the owner of the enterprise, revealed plans for the factory, which will focus on sweet and dry food production, developed in partnership with Ethiopian Airlines. He emphasized that the factory will utilize locally sourced raw materials for its production and aims to enhance the technical skills of Ethiopian professionals through knowledge and technology transfer. According to the Industrial Park Corporation, the new manufacturing operations are set to commence at the Qilinto Industrial Park.
Well, hello guys, welcome to part 3 of this little walking tour series that I'm doing at the moment, so you can sit on your sofa and explore a little bit of London with me. So I'm outside Camden Town Station, and yes, I am in, oh gosh, potentially the busiest area of North London on a Sunday afternoon, so bear with, this is going to test my vlogging skills. And I'm just coming up the back stairs, and yeah, I mean, I guess there's probably a good representation of different architecture. You have got a lot that was kind of went up during the Industrial Revolution.
And if a day in Camden isn't enough, you'll be rewarded by spending an evening here. Camden has one of the best nightlife scenes in London, and there's everything from pubs to bars to a great live music scene. You'll be spoiled for choice if you come out here at night.
Welcome back. Senior Natural Resource Officer with the UNECA called for climate financing for climate adaptation to scale up green infrastructure development for African integration. Linus Mofor made the call came during the 8th Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa PIDA week here in Addis Ababa. Shagao Yamajao has the latest. Take a look.
Themed fostering resilient and inclusive infrastructure for Africa's sustainable growth, leveraging transformative financing and regional integration, the 8th Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa PIDA Week has continued to take place in Addis Ababa. Panel discussions targeting the expansion of infrastructure development in various sectors have continued to be focus areas of stakeholders. Talking to EVC English, Senior Natural Resources Officer at UNECA, Linus Moforo, called for adequate climate finance for climate resilience to scale up infrastructure development.
We know we need a lot of infrastructure, and Ethiopia is a very good example of critical infrastructure like the Renaissance Dam and all of these big projects that are necessary for development, are necessary for regional integration and for our industrialization. But with climate change, there's a big risk that these infrastructures or these investments may not perform to the level that they need to be unless we integrate resilience into it. And I think this is where climate finance has to come, because our countries have to be given the support that is needed to ensure that this essential infrastructure that we need for our development, our industrialization, is actually climate resilient. Therefore, we need to actually push for the agenda to ensure that we have adequate flows of climate finance, that we can build critical infrastructure, we can industrialize and close our development gap.
Senior Officer of Directorate of Planning at Lapset, Kenya, Alex Muta, for his part, loaded Lapset multimodal infrastructure corridor that connects Ethiopia, South Sudan and Kenya, a component of PIDA projects to speed up African integration.
I believe infrastructure that we have a deficit in Africa is so huge. And we're talking about over 170 billion USD every year to finance infrastructure. And the only lifeline that we have currently is the corridors. So Lapset corridor, so far we have the first 3 birds, and they have created business for the corridor. And Ethiopia recently used it to bring in 60,000 metric tons of fertilizer. We have roads that are connecting the 3 countries, and it plays a big role in these PIDA projects of connecting Africa integration. And this is in line with the Vision 2063 of Africa and also the Africa Free Continental Trade Area.
The African catalyst, Femi Awofala, for his part, commended PIDA's remarkable progress to ensure physical connectivity to develop Africa through various sectors.
Infrastructure is critical because I think it's the artery of development. Without infrastructure, there is no economic growth, because this infrastructure is what is used to transport people, goods, and also offer services. And this infrastructure creates more economic activities, whereby maybe, for example, I can give the industrial parks that we have in Hawassa, which have been brought about by the infrastructure. The Lamu port, now we are thinking about having a special economic zone. So these infrastructure, they bring in urbanization, industrialization, which in turn bring employment and creates business and also employment for the many young people.
I've seen the fact that PIDA has been working with AUD NEPAD and other stakeholders like the African Development Bank and the African Union to create various projects that are regional, from transport to ICT to energy and also to telecommunication, whereby various regions or various people can have the right level of connectivity. Now, secondly, PIDA is also trying to integrate countries. So in the West African area, we have the Lagos-Abidjan corridor that looks at, the transportation right from Lagos into various West African countries and also arriving at Abidjan, and also looking at the economic environment in which how can those economies actually work together to actually achieve their objectives.
Adequate climate financing to integrate climate resilience is vital to expand robust infrastructure development to realize AU Agenda 2063, it was noted.
The World Bank expresses commitment to support safety net program to reduce poverty and ensure food security in Ethiopia. The Ministry of Agriculture, for its part, underlined that collective efforts are needed to ensure the productivity of the safety net program. This remark came here today when the Ministry and development partners reviewed the fifth phase of productive safety net program. Goshu Melissa reports.
The fifth phase of the SafeNet program began its operations in 2021 and is approaching to its conclusion in December 2025. The Ministry of Agriculture, Development Partners and other stakeholders sit to evaluate the productivity of the program in Addis Ababa. The State Minister of Agriculture remarked that PCNP has been the cornerstone of efforts to combat food insecurity by supporting millions of vulnerable households. He stressed the crucial role of collective efforts to ensure the productivity of the program.
The PCNP has been a cornerstone of our efforts to combat food insecurity and poverty, providing essential support to millions of vulnerable households across the country. Our collective commitment to this program has brought significant achievements. Over the past year, we have made substantial progress in several key interventions areas. To mention few achievements: timelines transfer for cash and food in PBC Waradas has exceeded the target by achieving over 80% compared to the target, which was 65%.
Meanwhile, the World Bank's senior social protection specialist reaffirmed the institution's ongoing commitment to providing support.
Our support is already profound and will continue as is. With, like I said, a big piece, I think that is something that people don't realize, is the knowledge piece that we bring in. What is happening in the region, sharing the knowledge of how we can do this better. So we'll continue that agenda. You've already heard government has elevated its support. Donors have also said they will continue to support the program. So together we'll continue to work together. And I'll tell you, to tell the story, when you meet PSMP clients, the stories are amazing. Women who have been able to take their children to school because they've been on this program. Men who have been able to elevate their status within the community because now they have a voice. People who have sustainable jobs. The jobs piece is very important. So these are stories that we'll continue to tell to support the program as well in Ethiopia, but across Africa and the world.
Addressing the gathering, State Minister of Finance Samarita also underscored the government of Ethiopia is highly committed to transform the livelihoods of the community.
The government of Ethiopia maintains its profound commitment to supporting the poorest in Ethiopia through the PSNP program. This program is the testament to our dedication to reducing poverty and enhancing food security, as well as improving livelihood among the most vulnerable populations in the rural areas. The government of Ethiopia is committed and has recently elevated both through a 5-fold increase in its contribution to the safety net program, both rural and urban, providing about 60 billion birr. We look forward to the implementation of the next phase of the program, and we are encouraged with renewed energy and commitment that we will do better for the most vulnerable.
State Minister of Women and Social Affairs Huriali stressed the need for government and partner collaboration to protect vulnerable groups and ensure sustainable solutions. The joint review of the PCNP will be held for 3 days, including today, Eros learned.
That's all we had for today's update, but before I go, let's have a recap of the top stories once again. Stakes call for climate financing for climate adaptation to scale up green infrastructure development for African integration. And the World Bank expresses commitment to support safety net program to reduce poverty and ensure food security in Ethiopia. Thank you for tuning in to TVC World. I am Makralawi. See you. Goodbye.